Very recently, I was potentially in a dangerous situation. Um, I'm gonna change up the story due to privacy reasons. But essentially, people were panicking and freaking out during this potential emergency. Um, so you can imagine like people were just thinking about what's gonna happen to them. I mean, a lot of people were thinking about what's gonna happen to them. I mean, it's to be expected. Your primary thought in emergency is your own safety, and I don't hate it. I don't. It's just a part of human nature. So I don't hold any negative feelings towards that. I just. It's just how it is, really. I mean, it's really hard to change that because it's so built into everyone. So it's pretty much impossible to change. But I want to focus on a second group of people, and these were the people who were wondering about what to do. Now, in my opinion, I think the latter is much more suitable for catastrophes because when thinking about what to do, you are searching for solutions, or at least doing something about your current situation instead of just thinking catastrophically about what's going to happen to you. You're kind of like in the first choice, you're basically just accepting what's going to happen to you. You're not really doing anything about it. So, but I can understand that perspective, that the intense fear of protecting yourself or of impending danger and thus wanting to protect yourself. And of course, thinking like this is, I mean, of course, not everyone is going to automatically think like that. And, well, a lot of people are going to have that first reaction because it's just me a jerk reaction. And everyone is selfish. I mean, no matter how much we want to convince ourselves otherwise, people are selfish. And people will think about themselves first. But moving on from that, I guess, how do we transition, from the first, type of thinking to the second? It's to pause. There's a reason why you are told to take a deep breath when you're in scary positions, think about when, police officers tell, victims of, certain situations, take a deep breath and calm down. I mean, it's the general gist. There's a reason for this. Because we cannot think clearly when our fear center is overactive, which is the amygdala. We get our higher thinking from the cortex. The cortex is like the outside regions of the brain. But the thinking that occurs in the cortex is obstructed by the amygdala. Like when you feel intense fear, the amygdala just lights up like a Christmas tree. And basically that sends you into a spiral of usually four reactions. I'll get more into that later. And the thing is, it's a good thing that your amygdala takes over and drives yourself to do four certain things. Well, I mean, some of them are not really productive and could probably kill you, but it's a good thing that your amygdala takes over because, I mean, if you think about it, why would you still be thinking about, I don't know, how beautiful the sunset is when there's a tiger that's literally about to eat you? Like, an active amygdala will just tell you to freaking run as fast as you can and get away from that. And I mean, there's no point in thinking about a beautiful sunset when you're about to be eaten. So anyway, that was a long ass tangent, but going back to the story, you could say that the so-called leader was really panicking, like I'm talking about nervous breakdown stuff. I don't mean to insult the leader, but it was nerve-wracking for me as well. Just seeing it happen with my own eyes, and also hearing it. At times he was repeating a single line, which was basically a goal. For example, he kept saying, "I need to stop," over and over again, it was just like, I need to stop, 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 I need to stop. And I mean, you can imagine how that was. So I mean, it's quite scary. And it felt like he was in a trance. But it's also admirable because, you know, he's so focused on that one goal, you know. But I mean, of course, there's also the fact that it instills fear into like the passengers and everyone else that was there. Yeah, but it's admirable in a sense. And another point was he was on the verge of crying, and I can understand that because he was in the face of indomitable fear. Like, you feel it deep in your stomach, and your speaking ability crumbles. You face a wall of horror, and you can't move. Your mind screams to you to run, but you just can't. And this is one of the 4 reactions, which is called freeze. You probably know of fight or flight, and freeze is the 3rd one. And then there is a final one. I'm not too sure about the wording, but the closest I could think of is like acceptance, really. But it's basically where you're like hopeless. So it's a little like freeze, but basically you're just hopeless and you just like stay there, and then you just accept it coming, or the danger coming, and sometimes you might even help the source of danger. Like basically if someone's attacking you, you might just assist in them killing you. It's weird, but yeah. The thing is, these are all activated through the amygdala, and through all of these it's extremely challenging, but I think that most people can achieve what I'm about to say, and that's to remembering to breathe. I mean, that's the most important thing. In my example, the leader did not breathe. Like, he didn't breathe in a calm manner. He didn't take deep breaths. And he was in a constantly fearful state for a large period of time. I mean, you can imagine the stress on that body. I don't want to say painful because you don't really get the sensation of pain, like physical pain, but I guess I can only say stress. Must have been extremely stressful, like much more stressful than my response. It was only after the crisis that he was able to relax his shoulders. And I'm not saying that you should be like completely relaxed during crisis, although that is kind of the best reaction. But you should calm yourself down so that you stay out of the 4 fearful states. And if you do that, you can use your higher thinking and think of ways to like get out of the situation, take action, think, So, moral of the story, pause. Create space between you and your perceived danger. I mean, that is pretty much the goal for meditation and mindfulness, is to create space. And then from there you can think and you can take action to solve your current situation. This way you'll have the best chance of success. So, I hope that you will take what I'm saying into consideration, and perhaps you'll remember it during your next time of crisis.